My mom will be coming to our house starting next week.
Huh? She's coming to visit?
What? No, she's moving in with us.
What?
I decided she'll live with us in this house.
As soon as I heard my husband's words, I immediately grabbed my phone. My name is Daisy, and I'm a 32-year-old office worker. I've been married to my husband, Josh, for 4 years. We met at a group blind date 7 years ago and started dating shortly after, and eventually got married after 3 years of being together. Our relationship as a married couple might not be exactly the same as when we were dating, but I believe we have a reasonably good relationship. Of course, we argue and get annoyed with each other at times, but we've always managed to talk things out and find solutions. We've been together for 4 years, so I believe we have good compatibility. But just recently, something happened that could potentially damage our relationship. My husband suddenly quit his job. When I asked him what was going on, he said he had depression. Not only was the job stressful, but it seems my husband also faced severe harassment from his superiors. I immediately suggested taking legal action against the company and his bosses, but my husband expressed that he wanted nothing to do with them anymore. I felt deeply sorry for him, realizing just how much he had been emotionally wounded. I didn't realize how much my husband had been suffering all this time. He's been working hard for us, and I believe he deserves a break to refresh himself. Even though our income will significantly decrease, it's just temporary. I'll just have to work hard and cut down on expenses. Above all, it's crucial for my husband to focus on recovering and getting back into society as soon as possible. With this in mind, I put in my best effort to handle both household chores and work as much as I could. However, as 1 month, 2 months, and then 3 months passed, my husband's depression did not improve. When I asked him, "Why don't you start looking for a job? Don't you think you might be able to work?" But he replied,
Just thinking about it makes it hard to breathe and makes me feel nauseous.
He has been seeing a psychiatrist, but he said the doctor just repeats phrases you might find in a philosophy book and wasn't very good. At home, my husband had a good appetite and had normal conversations. I thought he would recover after about a month of rest, but that wasn't the case. While I tried to remind myself that my husband was sick and couldn't help it, the reduction in our income made it hard for me to stay calm. I found myself becoming increasingly irritated by his minor actions and remarks.
Is dinner ready yet?
Just wait a little longer.
I'm starving.
Why should I, who has been busy working all day, be rushed by my husband, who has been at home, to make dinner? After finishing his meal, he would lie down on the couch and wouldn't help with the dishes at all. Additionally, when I returned home from work, I'd often find clothes scattered around the living room, or the dishes my husband used for lunch left unwashed in the sink. Consequently, within me, there was a conflict between the desire to be kind with my husband because he was sick and the wish for him to at least do these little things. This inner struggle led to a growing sense of irritation. And amidst all this, an even more troublesome situation unfolded. When I returned home from work as usual, I found my mother-in-law unexpectedly at our house. "Oh, hello. What's going on? Why are you here all of a sudden?"
What's the matter? Am I not allowed to visit my son? Anyway, why haven't you told me something important?
Huh?
I had no idea my son had depression.
Is it my place to tell her? It should be something my husband discloses himself.
Are you taking good care of Josh? You know, if a wife really supports her husband properly, these kinds of things wouldn't happen.
Here we go. My mother-in-law has always been like this. Whenever something goes wrong, it's always my fault. In short, she starts criticizing and belittling me as soon as she sees me. Initially, after getting married, I used to visit my in-laws' house for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and other occasions. However, every time I went there, my mother-in-law would subject me to harsh bullying, so I gradually distanced myself from them. Thanks to that, I enjoyed several years of peaceful daily life, freed from my mother-in-law's presence. However, since my mother-in-law found out that my husband is at home during weekdays, she has started coming over frequently. Moreover, when she comes over, she doesn't help with any household chores at all. On the contrary, with both of them lounging around during the day, the house gets even messier, making cleaning up more challenging. And she stays until dinner time, criticizing my cooking and eventually leaving with an absurd accusation like,
"It's your fault that my son got depressed."
Because of my mother-in-law's behavior, my husband has started getting more complacent and shamelessly lazy. He bought video games without asking me and spends all day playing them, even when I come home from work. My stress keeps building up, so I decided to talk to my father-in-law about it, feeling like something needed to be done. My father-in-law is quite reasonable compared to my mother-in-law, and whenever she bullied me at their house and he was present, he would reprimand her. So, I told him about my mother-in-law's frequent visits causing inconvenience. He came to our house after work and scolded my mother-in-law. It turned out my mother-in-law had been making up excuses like going out for tea with friends or going shopping in town. So, when my father-in-law suddenly showed up, she was quite flustered. After that, my mother-in-law stopped coming over, so at least one problem was resolved for now. Now comes the tough part. My husband is becoming increasingly lazy. And with only my income, it's becoming difficult to cover our living expenses plus the rent for both of us. What am I supposed to do? I have to find a way to get my husband back to a state where he can work. First, I suggested to my husband that he should consider changing psychiatrists. However, he wasn't enthusiastic about the idea. He says all psychiatrists are the same and it doesn't need to be changed. I can't help but wonder if he truly wants to get better. I began to feel distrustful towards my husband. So, I secretly called the psychiatric clinic where he's supposed to be receiving treatment. They told me that he had only attended one appointment about 6 months ago and hadn't been back since. I wondered what was going on, so nervously, I contacted the company my husband had left. They might not take me seriously, but I desperately wanted to know the details of why my husband quit. And what I found out was shocking. To my astonishment, it turned out that my husband, despite being responsible for a mistake, had tried to shift the blame onto a junior colleague. When confronted by his boss, he got into an argument, eventually leading him to submit his resignation letter. Furthermore, after resigning, he repeatedly called the company, claiming it was harassment and demanding compensation for his mental distress. This caused a lot of inconvenience for them. Of course, the company rejected his demands. Afterward, my husband said he would bring a medical certificate to the company, but after that, they never heard from him again. When I heard this, something clicked in my mind. Most likely, even though he went to the psychiatric clinic, he wasn't diagnosed with depression and couldn't get the medical certificate. Then, he probably became too lazy to work and, taking advantage of my kindness, continued to deceive me and lived a lazy life. I was just fed up rather than angry with him. I didn't think he was such a jerk. I felt ashamed of myself for marrying such a man. I decided to pick up divorce papers after work and confront him with them as soon as I got home. However, when I checked my phone after work, I saw an incredible number of missed calls. They were all from my husband. Wondering what could be wrong, I called him back, only to find out that my father-in-law had collapsed. I rushed to the hospital immediately. However, my father-in-law had already passed away due to a heart attack. There was no room for presenting divorce papers anymore. Instead, we were caught up in preparing for his funeral. Since my father-in-law had been very kind to me, I wanted to make sure we gave him a proper funeral. Now, a month has passed since the funeral, and things regarding my father-in-law's funeral have settled down for now. Then, one evening during dinner, my husband said something like this.
My mom will be coming to our house next week.
Huh? She's coming to visit?
What? No, she's moving in with us.
What?
I decided she'll live with us in this house.
As soon as I heard my husband's words, I immediately grabbed my phone. I'll call a moving company since I need to move my belongings.
Ha!
Oh, hello. I'm calling because I need help moving my belongings since I'm moving. Yes, that day works for me. All right, thank you very much.
Hey, wait a minute. What's going on all of a sudden? Moving? I don't understand.
I'm leaving if your mother moves in here. Which means I'm divorcing you.
Ha! Divorce.
I fetched the divorce papers from my room and confronted him with them.
Wait a minute, calm down. Why do you have divorce papers ready?
Did you think I wouldn't find out?
Ha!
About why you quit your job. About not going to the psychiatric clinic. I know everything.
What?
Deceiving your wife, and on top of that, planning to live with her mother-in-law who continues to bully her? That's insane. I don't want to be with a man like you anymore. Let's get divorced. My husband refused to sign initially. Then maybe I'll hire a lawyer to claim compensation and divorce you. When I casually threatened him, he quickly signed. Well, that's to be expected. Because he was unemployed and had no income. I left the house with the divorce papers and my belongings. I returned to my parents' house for a while and then moved into the rental apartment I had previously found. As for my ex-husband, he continued living in that apartment, but since the rent was expensive, he quickly became unable to afford the rent and had to move out. Moreover, my mother-in-law was pleased to be able to live with her son, so she ended up selling their family home. With no home to return to, my ex-husband reluctantly lives in a small apartment with his mother. However, he lacks the motivation to find a job after being unemployed for so long, and they're forced to live a poor life relying on his mother's meager pension. Absolutely, serve them right. On the other hand, I'm enjoying a comfortable solo life in my newly rented apartment. For the time being, I plan to enjoy my single life while saving money for the future.